The Great Depression. Now picture the morning of October 29, 1929. Wall Street is tense, the air feels electric. Something that had seemed impossible until that moment suddenly happens. The stock market, which everyone believed would rise forever, collapses. Black Tuesday begins just like that. Within hours, people's fortunes are literally wiped out. Men in suits stand frozen, watching stock prices plunge to the bottom. Trading turns brutal, complete chaos takes over, and panic spreads everywhere. But here's the real point. This wasn't just a bad day. It was the beginning of the greatest economic catastrophe of modern times. For years, America had been flying high. The roaring 20s, everyone happy, the stock market soaring, credit easy to get, optimism everywhere. Ordinary people were pouring their entire savings into stocks. Why? Because everyone believed prices would keep rising. No one saw the truth. Beneath the surface, danger was building. Speculation was at its peak, and banks, driven by greed, were handing out loans to people who could never repay them. The system had become a house of cards. And then that ominous October day arrived and everything collapsed. As stock prices fell, everything else toppled like dominoes. Banks that had invested in the market began to fail one by one. People rushed to withdraw their money, only to find locked doors and empty vaults. Businesses shut down, jobs disappeared. Unemployment soared to unimaginable levels, up to 25%. Lines for food stretched for blocks. Farmers in rural areas lost their land, and on top of that came the Dust Bowl, turning fertile fields into deserts. This suffering didn't stay confined to America. The Great Depression spread across the world, hitting Europe, Asia, everywhere. Countries tried to protect their economies by raising tariffs, but it only made things worse, further strangling global trade. Governments searched for solutions for years. In the United States, President Roosevelt launched the New Deal, public works programs, financial regulations, social safety nets. A well-intentioned effort, but recovery came painfully slowly. The most striking part. What ultimately ended the Depression wasn't policy, it was war. When World War II began, factories restarted. People found jobs. And the economy revived. The 1973 oil crisis. In October 1973, the world was introduced to a very different kind of weapon, oil. The Organization of Arab Petroleum Exporting Countries cut off oil sales to nations supporting Israel in the Yom Kippur War. Overnight, the world's most powerful economies were left without fuel. What followed was pure economic chaos. Oil prices didn't just rise, quadrupled, jumping from $3 a barrel to $12. Gas stations in the United States turned into battlegrounds. People waited for hours just to buy a few liters of gasoline. Some stations ran completely dry, others imposed strict per-person limits. Even going to work or to the grocery store became a serious calculation. But the problem wasn't just gasoline. The entire economy was shaken. From food to transportation, prices surged. As production costs rose, companies downsized. Jobs disappeared, inflation skyrocketed, and growth stalled. Economists were forced to confront a new reality, stagflation. An economy that isn't growing, unemployment is rising, and inflation is exploding at the same time. A rare and dangerous condition. This wasn't merely an oil crisis, it was a wake-up call about energy. For years, developed countries had relied on cheap Middle Eastern oil. That dependency had now become their greatest vulnerability. Governments had to rewrite their energy strategies. Fuel efficiency, alternative energy, strategic petroleum reserves all came into focus after this crisis. Power balances shifted too. Countries once seen only as suppliers of oil now held enormous influence over the world's strongest economies. All of this shows us one thing: economic crises do not emerge overnight. They are the result of mistakes and false beliefs that accumulate over many years. So today, which system are we living in that we are told will never collapse, And how far away is the next Great Depression really?